Hi, my name is Arese Ugwu. I'm the founder of smartmoneyafrica.org and you're watching On the Money. Hi, my name is Arese Ugwu. I am the founder of smartmoneyafrica.org, which is basically a personal finance platform tailored to the African millennial. I'm also the author of the book called The Smart Money Woman, An African Girl's Journey to Financial Freedom. Okay, so my background, I worked in wealth management for 8 years, and I just got to a point where I decided that I wanted to be doing something that had a bit more impact. And then I came up with this idea to write an article for Bella Naija. It was called A Chanel Bag versus a Stock Portfolio, because I had gotten it into my head that people in my generation, we like, to talk about the entrepreneurial journey and all of that, but we haven't really learned how to keep money and grow it. And a lot of the personal finance information is very preachy. It can be very preachy or very don't do this and don't do that. But so I wanted to write for someone like me who likes the good life. So I like to travel, I like, Chanel bags. But it's also very important to me to protect my financial future. And a few things happened in my life where I realized even if I worked in financial services, I wasn't as money conscious as I should have been. So I wrote this article and at first I was really scared. I was like, actually, who cares? No one, cares about, money talk. They're more interested in, entertainment, news and, what musicians are doing or what actresses are doing. No one really cares about money. But I sent it to one of my friends and he was like, you're crazy. You have to put this out there, it's really good. And he sent it to Bella Naija and basically the rest was history, as they say. I built an audience over the last 2 years. I've built quite an engaged audience, smart money movement, of people who have lots of money issues or different pain points when it came to managing their money. And to be honest, when I first started, I did not know where I was going. For all I knew, I was going to be just writing articles as on the side. But eventually, it started growing, the audience was growing, and I kept thinking every day, what else can I do to tackle those pain points? How else can I, do this differently? And so there was no big strategy in place. And then recently I launched the book. And the response has been overwhelming. So we're in a recession now and, things are pretty difficult for a lot of people. There's inflation, there's FX problems, there's, you name it. Everything has become way more expensive. So people are losing their jobs, businesses are struggling. And I think that now is the time where people have started to think about money management a little bit more. So my book came at a very timely, it's very timely, I would say. So there are things one of the biggest things that I've realized is that in Africa, we grew up knowing that we need to become financially successful or we need to make money to be financially successful. But we're not taught in any formal framework how to keep it or grow it. So for example, when we think about a wealthy person, we're thinking, oh, so-and-so is the richest man and he's on the Forbes list and his net worth is XYZ. But when we're talking about our friends, we talk more about their spending patterns or say, oh, so-and-so is a big boy or a big girl because they drive a Range or they go on holiday every summer, or we don't realize that wealth is more about how much you're able to keep and convert to assets, which is more important than how much cash you have in your bank account to spend. A lot of the pain points come with reframing the way we think about money in this generation, understanding that just because it's in your account doesn't mean that it's there for you to spend. So you don't want to become a revolving door for your money. So basically you don't want to be living from paycheck to paycheck, because what I find is if you can't find a way to save and invest when you have 10 naira, you will never find a way to save and invest when you have 10 million. Because typically our consumption rises to meet our income. So for example, when you are in youth service and you are a corporate and you weren't earning that much money, you'd say, oh, you know, I'm not earning enough. And then a few years later, when you're earning 10 times your salary, it's still not enough because you found things to spend it on. So your consumption has risen because now you work in a bank, so you have to look like a banker. So you have to buy suits and jewelry and all of that to look like a banker. Now, you know, you've gotten to a certain point in your life and you have to live in a certain area. So we have all these like mindset things, which are not, you know, necessarily bad, but the thing is, if you're a revolving door for your money and you're living from paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much you earn, you're basically putting your financial future at risk. So in this recession, if I had, you know, 3 tips to give people, one will be cut your expenses. If you have never thought about managing your money properly, this is the time to do it, because you can, even with the same income, like you can no longer afford what you could afford last year, because inflation has gone up to almost 18%. So track your expenses, look at everything that you're spending your money on like every month and figure out what you need to cut out. So one of my biggest things in life is cut expenses ruthlessly on the things that don't matter to you and spend intentionally on the things that matter to you. 2, planned spending. So like I mentioned, I like the good life. So if I want to do anything that, you know, I know is not necessarily an asset, or I want to put money towards anything that's not necessarily an asset, I would plan for it. You have to spend intentionally. A lot of people find that their money is being dragged in different directions that are not necessarily theirs, because we always see it's like, oh, it's just 15K, it's just 20K, it's just, but all of that stuff adds up. So you need to figure out what really matters to you, articulate what your money goals are, and spend intentionally towards those goals and cut out everything else. So 3, in this recession, I feel like I said this like 8,000 times. However, even me, as in I'm part of this problem, stop complaining. We need to stop complaining about everything that is wrong with the economy and how it's affecting us every day, and start seeing converting those problems into opportunities. So a question I like to ask myself every time I'm complaining about something is, if I broke this problem down into several different components, what skill sets do I have that can help solve these problems? Those are potential business opportunities. That is potential value, and more value means more money. After every single recession, there's a new crop of billionaires, and people will be wondering, how far? As in, how did that guy, you know, make so much, or how did that girl, you know, make so much? Because while we were complaining, they were building platforms, they were creating value. So we need to figure out, you know, what we need to be creative about in this, you know, downtime. And I find that lack makes you more creative. Like, you start to think, okay, what can I be doing differently? It helps you think better. But when things are great, you're more comfortable and less likely to think about those things.